not until Amanda Sorenson represented all the females out there that have dreams and aspirations to be drifters.
That's my life, baby, I'm a rock star. Been on a mission, but they call me catch and kill. I'm still in diamonds, make them chase me for the thrill. Been MIA, BKK, so pretty. That's my life, baby, I'm a rock star.
There's so much more going through your mind as a driver when you own the team also. The goal is to go out and perform what they're asking you to do by hitting certain clipping points, outside zones, while maintaining line, angle, and style.
Is the goal to have you and your brother on the podium at the same time?
And the one thing about motorsports, which I fell in love with the most, is the business side of things.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Ignition Point. I'm Debbie Hart.
Sean Finnegan.
And today we have race car driver Amanda Sorenson, the youngest race car driver to win the drift, right?
Well, I would say more of my title is the first female to podium in Formula Drift.
First female to podium in Formula Drift.
My brother's now the youngest. So
Aha, but you were for a while.
Yes.
Okay.
So your brother's what, 13 and
My brother's 13, yes.
And he's now the youngest.
He'll be the youngest licensed Formula Drift driver.
Wow.
That is so impressive.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna deep dive into your story about how you got started and some of the things you've had to push through. But I just want to give our viewers a little bit even more. She is a very impressive young lady right here. From figure skater to professional race car driver, Amanda rapidly ascended the ranks of the motorsports world. Her passion for action sports and competitive spirit led her from skating, wake surfing, and volleyball to where she is today, the super competitive sport of racing. Amanda's determination to surpass her brother, also a driver, fueled her 17-year driving career. So how old were you when you started?
I started racing when I was 6. So
Jeez.
6 years
yeah,
old.
and go-kart.
One of only 2 licensed female Formula Drift drivers, Amanda stands out, as you can see, in a rising star in a heavily male-dominated sport like racing, by expertly captivating large audiences, fan bases who eagerly follow her journey. So how many followers do you have now? I know just on Instagram alone, 1.7 million. I mean, and your other platforms are right up there with that, right?
Yeah, we're a little over 3 million total social following.
Jeez.
So as a female, what made you decide to get into racing in a heavily dominated male industry like that?
To be honest, racing's always just been a family career, or a family hobby. Family hobby turned to career. So I have 2 younger brothers, and they are very competitive. We're all competitive with each other. Even my 13-year-old brother is competitive with me. And honestly, it was something that really brought our family together. So my dad began racing, and when we were younger, he involved us in so many sports, everything from gymnastics to playing instruments to you name it. I never did, I wasn't the typical girl, I didn't really do soccer or cheerleading. I was more during the week I was focusing on, the sports that I was playing, like volleyball and instruments, and then during the weekend my family would always go to the racetrack.
Okay, so you were kind of born into it, but there's a moment when you had to decide that you were going to relentlessly pursue this in order to achieve the level of mastery that you have. So tell us about that moment. Did your parents really push or just encourage, or was it really just what you wanted to do?
Well, I grew up in a very disciplined household. My dad definitely and my mom did not let us, there was never free time, but they're also very business driven. And the one thing about motorsports, which I fell in love with the most, is the business side of things.
Really?
And
okay.
yeah.
We're going to want to hear more about that.
That's perfect because this is an entrepreneur business show.
It's a business show,
so it's perfect.
yeah.
So the thing about motorsports is there's everything involved when it comes to being a race car driver. Managing a team, you would never believe, but just managing routes for our semi-truck to drive from each racetrack to the other racetrack, understanding what documents are required for the government to have a licensed semi.
What about the advertiser, the revenue side?
Advertising, exactly, social media, building a personal brand, managing sponsors. There's so much that goes into racing that it's not just driving a car, which is crazy. Even driving the car, there's self-discipline on that side. You have to commit to the practice. You have to commit to being able to show up for the show. Like, there's so much that goes into it.
Show up for the show. I like that. Tell us more about all of the business side that goes into. Were you aware of that? When you're like, I just want to drive
from the
fast
outside,
cars,
people are like,
and
they
you're
look at you, or they're like, race car,
teenager.
like they think all you do is just drive cars.
Just drive the cars, but
Yeah.
there's a business behind that.
To be honest, the personal brand was huge for me. And I think we're in this weird generation where like personal brand is so important. Like if you can build a personal brand around yourself, I mean, look at someone like Addison Rae. She's kind of like a TikToker that just kind of blew up out of nowhere, but she leveraged the people in her space and she was able to build a personal brand and create ad value out of it and provide something to these big sponsors that are, you know, either they're endemic to dancing or they're not endemic to dancing. Like it's crazy how when you have such a large following, you can leverage it in so many ways. So for me, I would say like drifting was really something where I kind of fell in love with it because drifting itself is so disciplined. You show up and you have one chance to go around the track and do exactly what you need to do for the qualifying, which drifting is obviously a lot more complicated than just being the first person to cross the finish line, which is what makes it so unique for me. But it also relates to figure skating in a way for me. Like I grew up competitively figure skating for 10 years and I loved the simple fact that it was like a single person sport. It's really on yourself. You have to be self-disciplined and you have to mentally be ready for that day, for the competition day. So like drifting is very relatable in that sense. But it was something that I could do with my family, and my family supported and encouraged it the whole entire time. Pushed us on days where Brandon, my brother who also drifts with me, we're like, oh, like we're over drifting, we want to get into something else. But when you step back and look at the business side of things, there's so much potential for drifting. It's the millennial audience, 18 to 34-year-old millennials that are auto enthusiasts. And for me, I kind of was like, there's no female that's leading this. There's no female that's up there. And for me, it was manageable. My brother is a pro driver. I'm able to take lessons from him. My dad was able to teach us how to manage the team. My mom showed me the logistics and everything kind of just, you know, when the stars align, you're like, okay, like this makes sense. And during all of this, I'm like going and taking a full credits at UVU here in Utah. Being like, oh, I'm going to get a construction management degree because my parents are in construction. So like, that's where the business side comes from. But that like business mindset is really what took over.
Tell us about your first fame, where you became famous on TikTok. Tell us about what that first video was that really blew up for you.
Honestly, it had nothing to do with racing. It was like a fitness video when I was talking about like girls having like a normal sized body, because I feel like in this world that we live in, there's this perfect image of a body that is like unrealistic. And I feel like even they're really highlighting it on social media after the Olympics this past year. Like you see what a female's body looks like. But my first video was like that. It got over 500,000 views on TikTok, and this was during COVID. So like I was just bored making videos. And super into the fitness at the time.
Definitely struck a chord with people.
For sure. And then Instagram came out with Reels, and my first Instagram Reel hit 12 million views, and I gained 80,000 followers overnight.
Jeez.
Wow.
And that one was racing related, and I was like, okay, I see where this is going. Like leveraging a personal brand and drifting in one was kind of like my
And
niche.
it's new and it's different. You're disrupting the industry by being a female, by being so young and still achieving such high levels of success. It's inspiring to people.
For sure.
How does social media play into the whole business world, where like advertisers, and how do they look at you different because of the social media?
When it comes to racing, if you look like in the motorsports industry, if you look back like 5 years, you see brands are spending money on things that make sense for their business. And it would be more things along the line of offering hospitality so people could network within the same space. Or possibly having the logo on the side of the car. Obviously, when it comes to the manufacturers, whose car could get first place. And I think you see that's changing a lot right now, because if you have an audience that's interested in that certain niche and that brand can sell to that demographic, if they can at least convert 10% of the people, that's still a larger percent of an audience than someone who's getting first place every weekend with no following.
Do you feel like accepting sponsorships restricts in any way who you feel free to fully be?
I'm very particular about who I work with. And I don't just take something for the money. Like, I'm very critical on products. Even if it was a makeup brand offering a lot of money, I would be like, you know, to be honest, your makeup is not that good.
Yeah,
So,
you want it to fit your brand and your style.
Not
Exactly.
the other way around. You
your
want to
vision.
change yourself to fit them.
for sure,
You
100%.
want them to fit with who you genuinely are.
And I think when it comes to motorsports as a whole, I've been able to leverage the personal brand to create what kind of image I want for myself. Going after non-endemic brands, working with a mascara company. You don't necessarily see a professional race car driver, you know, do a mascara company ad.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, right? So reaching for the non-endemic brands has been a goal of mine. And you can see it's changing a lot in our industry.
Tell us about like a hard time for you. Like, what's a hard
That's gonna
moment?
be-
What's something that you struggled with in building this?
Well, on the personal side of things, being a female in a male-dominated industry isn't always the easiest. You have to really learn how to be. You have to learn how to establish the respect for yourself in the industry
Yeah.
when the world can be a little
Give
shady
us some
sometimes.
examples of that.
Yeah, what does that look like?
Um,
Like when you roll into a race and they see a female,
okay, so
like how are you judged that way?
For sure, 100%. I would say, like, even just to give you an example, in the drifting world, I was very shy in the beginning. I didn't talk to a lot of my competitors.
Really?
I was also very young, so nobody really opened up to me or talked to me or took me under their wing and hung out with me. I was fortunate enough to have a brother that was able to introduce me to everybody, so I was able to kind of leverage that. But becoming more friendly, like sister-like to a lot of the guys is really like kind of, I would say, an example
Yeah.
of that scenario.
You think sometimes they just don't take you serious that you're in
Because
this
you're a
sport.
female or because you're
and-
young?
In that world.
I don't know if I would say that.
Yeah.
I would just say, like, when you're a pretty girl, you have a lot of things to deal with, and that just
Yeah.
is what it is.
Right, yeah,
That is
sure.
true.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and they know when they see you drive.
I
it's
mean,
like,
you're
Yeah.
driving and your stats speak
But when
for
they see your
themselves.
skill, I'm sure
100%.
they're blown away.
Yeah. So I think putting in the time to earn the respect was something that was definitely necessary.
Yeah. What is drifting like? So tell us how the competition works. You're not the first over the line. Like how are you judged as a drifter?
So drifting is a judge-based sport.
Yeah.
It's very political.
Yeah.
You have a line, angle, and style judge. The goal is to go out and perform what they're asking you to do by hitting certain clipping points, outside zones, while maintaining line, angle, and style. So as the lead driver, if you ever see, we do a tandem battle, so that's two cars driving against each other. The lead driver's goal is to perform a perfect line, angle, and style for the chase driver to mimic.
Jeez.
So the goal is for the lead driver to go and put down a 100-point run is what they would say. So maintaining the proper line, angle, and style according to what the judges asked for that day.
Jeez.
And then the chase driver has to match it. So they have to be a mirror image of the lead driver. And then once the chase driver does that, then they switch. So the lead driver goes into the chase position, chase driver goes into the lead position. And from there,
Wow.
you do the same thing, and whoever does a better run
Yeah.
is who advances. And it's a bracket style competition
Wow.
from top 32 all the way to first place.
How did you become that podium when we introduced you? Tell us about that race.
That was an interesting weekend for me. When I first started drifting, my goal was to be the first female to podium in Pro Spec. And I've had the opportunity many times to move up to the Pro League, which is the highest league. There's no female in that league. However, for me, I think it was important for me to establish my respect along the way, all the way up the lines. So going into this year, I had the opportunity to take drifting seriously, compete in all 4 rounds, and I made a goal for myself to be the first female to podium. So I put in the work to do that. And it's crazy because with drifting, the world has to align. Like, I'm not joking. You have 30 seconds to go and do your one lap, but if the car breaks, you're gone.
Yeah.
You know, I could fly all the way to Florida or to Atlanta or wherever across the country. And if my car breaks during that 30-second window, like I just go home,
done.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's crazy how the stars have to align for a winning
Because
weekend.
it's not just all of the discipline and everything you need to know, it's also your vehicle.
100%.
So what
Yeah,
happened in
the
that
team.
weekend, that race? What happened when?
That weekend, I just let go of the competition and the pressure, and I had fun, and I got myself to the top. Like, I was going into the final four being like, they're like, oh, we're about to go into the finals. And I'm like, really? Like, we're in the finals already?
Right.
And they were like, yeah. I was like, that's insane. Like, it was such a good weekend.
What was that moment like when you stood up on the podium?
Honestly, I didn't get first. So, you know,
Right.
my competitive mindset didn't really accept the fact that I
Okay, there you
accomplished
go.
the goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. I look back at it now and it's crazy to see. You don't really see a lot of people standing around for the podium. Even like the most respected drivers in the game were there for my podium, which was insane because to have a female on the podium, I had so many people tell me it's crazy that, you know, other people now can see it's possible. And I see it. Drifting is insane for the simple fact that it actually is, the female audience is growing rapidly. Females are messaging me all the time saying, hey, how do I get a drift car? But it's also the most attainable motorsport in my opinion.
Really? Okay.
You can buy a car, any stock car, and go drifting.
Drifting on it.
Yeah.
You're
Or, like-
inspiring all those women.
Yeah, you are. We need some more women
Making an impact on the
in
world.
the field with you.
At
Absolutely.
the end of the day, it's just like, I want to go drive with my brother in the pro leagues, and
What is that like?
I want to
So
be out there with the boys. You know?
tell us
Yeah.
about you had a 13-year-old brother. And what's that like, having a brother like at that age doing what he's doing now?
It's insane, actually. But the craziest part is, so my other brother, he's 20, I'm 21. We're very, very close. He's like my best friend. Brandon and I have always been head-to-head competition our whole lives, competing with each other. But we've never really had that level up to compete with. So our 13-year-old brother, who comes in and gets to compete with us, it's insane to see how fast he can actually,
At 13.
yeah.
Yeah, wow.
How bad does he want to beat you?
He doesn't stop talking. Like,
Yeah, it's like every day.
he's the professional, you know, like, I don't know, it's crazy.
The advantage he has that you didn't have is you didn't have the level up. He has
For
the level
sure.
up with you,
He
right?
did.
Yeah.
He has all of the best tools right
Yeah.
in front of him. Brandon
Right.
and I had to work through things. Like,
Yeah.
he can, for example, like, I'm running his social media right now, and he started at 0 followers. We're up to 2,000 followers within a few weeks.
Right.
Wow.
Reaching over 300,000 views on videos. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have someone to teach me that. Obviously, when it comes to my family, everyone's involved with everything. So there's some discipline on his side. Okay, if you provide me videos, I'll make you edits.
Wow.
And I'll run your social media. But same with Brandon. Brandon's like, if you go put in the work on the simulator, I'll sit there to coach you through it.
So you're like this top drifter, you're running this business, and you're also going to manage your 13-year-old brother's social media account on the side.
That's just like, the fun gigs. Actually, like,
Yeah.
creating social media content for me is like my escape. I just love understanding algorithms.
Oh, you have
Is-
fantastic content.
You do,
I mean,
incredible.
1.7 million viewers can't be wrong. So.
Is the goal to have you and your brother on the podium at the same time?
For sure. Right
Wouldn't
now,
that be amazing?
to explain a
Incredible.
little bit deeper, it's actually, my podium for me felt, it was so much more than just me getting on the podium, being the first female to podium. Because
I mean, you're going down in history.
3
for that
weeks
one.
prior to that, it was my brother Brandon's first podium in Formula Drift.
Oh,
The second
really?
week after that was Cameron, my younger brother's first podium in drifting, and then my first podium, all within 3 weeks.
Jeez.
Wow.
It was back to back weekend. It was an insane experience for our team.
Yeah.
I bet your parents are just kind of elated with all of that activity for their
Definitely.
kids.
But going into next year, Formula Drift has 2 classes, Pro and Pro Spec. So I drive in the Pro Spec class. Cameron and I will be competing in Pro Spec. Brandon will be in Pro. The goal is to chase championships within both classes and within our team accomplish both of those podiums.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's our goal for next year. It's a lot, but I think anything's possible.
Yeah, it is.
That's amazing. So maybe parting remarks.
Your best advice for young entrepreneurs wanting to either get into either racing or drifting, or even maybe females looking to get into a male-dominated field, because that happens a lot.
For sure. I just would say don't overthink things. Like, keep it easy, keep it simple.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I think when you think of the grand scheme of things, the end goal might seem so far away. But really, you just got to accomplish the first small goal, and they'll begin to come.
Yeah, it's what you mentioned earlier when you went into that and you podiumed. You kind of put all that stuff out of your mind, because I'm sure you can go into a race like that and you have everything, you know, all the business side, you have the competitor side, and you just kind of put it out of your mind and realized, hey, I'm going into the finals in the top 4.
Yeah, exactly. To put it in perspective, if you're sitting on the line, you know, I have a crew of about 25 guys that I manage. Obviously I have a team manager that manages it, but to see my team walking around with my name on the back of their shirt while I'm sitting at the line, being like, oh, they're goofing off over there, or they're doing that. There's so much more going through your mind as a driver when you own the team also.
Wow.
And when that's a representative of who you are. So to let all of that go was a huge thing for me, because I'm such a perfectionist, but we have put our time and a lot of efforts into building the business and building the team to where we finally got to a point where I'm like, okay, I just need to take a step back and be like, this is awesome. Like, I'm grateful for this, and we've made it a long way.
Law of attraction. Tell us quickly, because I saw the TikTok of you know, transforming into a race car driver. Tell us about that so people can check that out.
Like the trend.
Yeah, the trend. Yeah.
Those are just like fun trends. To be honest, like, I love when the girls on TikTok make these little like girly trends, and I'm like, I just want to put my twist on it. And, you know, instead of me, you know, dancing in front of a camera, I'm like, I would like to inspire these people to show you, like, I'm just a normal girl, and I'm just as normal as everyone else, but I also do this as my profession.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I love it how you pop, you know, the helmet pops on, and yeah,
It's fun.
Instead
That's
of like
the
the trend,
part that you're just like,
Yes.
with
the
the
trend
beat
is
drop.
normally like you're getting ready for a dance or something, and you like you're transforming into this race car driver.
Like when your mom asked for a cheerleader, but instead she got a race car driver.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but you still bring your authentic feminine energy to the field.
Definitely.
Love it.
Because like I can be girly, but I also am. Drifting's cool because it's about style also. Like you'll see there's a lot of style integrated into it, so.
I think so many people learned more about drifting in this than they understood. Like
I did.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolute honor to have you on the show. We're going to be doing some drives.
Let's
We're
do
actually
it.
the first one we've
Let's
done
go drift right
in
now.
There's a Bronco, but we're
not
in a
gonna drift the
garage here,
Bronco.
and we're surrounded by a bunch of supercars. So
McLaren, I think we're gonna drive.
yeah, so in the next hour, you're going to be sampling and testing a couple. There's a BMW. Is that an M5, M4?
Yeah.
That you're going to be drifting also. So we're going to do some drifting. And we have this crazy little machine over here that we're going to take out and drift that thing. So
That's crazy.
we're going to get some really cool clips here.
Yeah, we are.
So honor to have you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, guys.
Amanda.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay guys, so that concludes our show.
We loved having live drifting here with Amanda Sorenson, only on Ignition Point.
To be honest, this thing is really like, sorry.
Oh, you're good?
You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
It's tight.
It's very pointy.
Okay, Sean, first time in a Cybertruck. Is it on? Like, I don't hear it. I feel like I'm sitting in a container. What the is going on with this thing? This is kind of interesting. Okay. You want to do a
haven't even
launch
really
test in
played
the
much.
parking lot?
Yeah, do the launch test right here.
I'm just out for a Sunday cruise in my Cybertruck. I mean, who doesn't love the sound of like a raw combustion engine?
Yes.
You know? Does the horn work? I don't like it. Take over immediately. I feel like the front windshield is as big as a movie theater screen. This is insane. I actually don't feel comfortable about this. Is it now that there's a stoplight here?
We'll see. Oh.
Oh, what about the dog crossing?
Yeah, dog is fine.
Do you ever think that just one day all of the electric vehicles are just gonna take over the world?
What's your overall score?
It's kind of cool. It's
All right.
cool.
Right.
Would it be like something that I was like, oh, I have a Cybertruck just to flex? Maybe.